Hi, everybody. Angel here. And I'm super excited today to speak with Tracy, the unexpected activist. And she will be joining us soon. And we will be talking about the Climate Change Summit, the Climate Change Conference in Scotland, in Glasgow. So I will bring Tracy on right away and we will get started. Hi there.
Hi, Angel.
How are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and it's so great to see you in person because we met over on Clubhouse and we can
We
only
did.
we can only hear each other over there. So it's awesome to see each other.
Yeah. The nice thing about Clubhouse was being able to do this in our pajamas, but sometimes it's nice to also be in person. So,
There we go. There we go. Or at least partially pajamas and partially
right, up
something.
from the waist up, right?
Absolutely. So, Tracy, thank you so much for taking the time. And I have pinned our topics, just a little summary on the bottom, just to keep me on track here. And as our guests arrive, we will pause and, see if they have any questions or comments. Um, but Tracy, you have the page called The Unexpected Activist. And so reading between the lines and reading your posts on that page, um it's clear that you kind of stumbled into this whole activism world on your life's journey, your vegan journey, and now that's taken you to the climate change conference. So first of all, we'll get back into like how you stumbled into all of this, but would you tell everybody, please, what is actually happening at COP26 or COP26, please?
Sure. So, um, I don't mean to insult anybody if you already know this, but COP actually stands for Conference of the Parties. And I wrote it down so I don't stumble because it's a long name. It's Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, which is a mouthful.
Oh,
Um, but basically what it is an annual meeting where world leaders come together around the subject of climate change. And this was the 26th, hence COP26.
right.
And there were 200 countries represented, 25,000 delegates, and 120 heads of state. So it's a what should be a really important meeting around what is an existential threat to us and our planet. I think what many of us are feeling right now is that the people in the actual rooms who are at this meeting are missing the point a little bit, that the proposals that they are putting forward, I know most people are familiar, for example, with the Paris Agreement that came out in 2015, which Donald Trump so famously pulled the United States out of. Even that agreement, if we were to deliver against all the promises made in that agreement, we aren't going to hit the target of 1.5 degrees in temperature rise. So those of us outside the conference, those of us rebels, I think we're all saying, number one, even your existing targets aren't good enough. It's not good enough. And secondly, the term that has been floated around this particular conference is you're missing the cow in the room, that you are not talking about animal agriculture as one of the biggest problems and the biggest contributors to climate change. And so I believe strongly in my heart that we all need to rally together. We need to raise our voices. We need to apply pressure from the bottom up, because top down isn't working. It's just not working. So that's why I was there. And it was very important. It was inspiring. It was amazing. I connected with so many amazing, amazing people. I am so humbled by what people are doing. And I would encourage anybody that can attend an event like this to go and get energized and get connected and figure out what you can do.
Yeah, and I just applaud you for, jumping in there and, doing whatever you can do. I saw a report that there were 250,000 people, protesting in the street. I mean, that's very impressive,
It was huge.
Yeah. And I follow one of the organizations that was, that's attending the conference, and they had like a live route, a kind of like a rally. And it was just really, really inspiring. Like you said, I mean, I can't say I felt like I was there, but I kind of almost felt like I was there because
Yeah.
someone in the crowd was filming it. So it was almost like I was like peeking over their shoulder and like, in the crowd, and the energy was just super high and just super powerful. And, one thing you mentioned about, they're just not getting the cow in the room. I saw also reports that there were the actual climate impact figures for the menu items, yet they still had animals on the menu.
Yeah. I mean,
I was blown away.
they were serving meat, which is horrible. Beef. But we're in Scotland, and people love their Angus beef, and also salmon. And we know what salmon farming is doing to the oceans. There's climate implications, but there are health implications. There are ocean health implications. I mean, there are so many things wrong with what happens at these big meetings, and we need to call them out. I think it's our responsibility to call these things out and hold people accountable, and not just do a little kumbaya, wasn't this great, we were all together, and then walk away and say, okay, see you next year, without really having moved the needle on what we need to do right now. So yeah, I mean, you could be disheartened, I think, a little bit if you were just to look at what's happening inside those conference rooms.
Yeah.
And the speeches and as Greta says, blah, blah, blah. But I think you can also be incredibly inspired when you see the people on the streets. And it was cold on Saturday, and it was pouring rain. And we were all out there, and boy, I like a good protest march.
Yeah. And I just want to encourage anyone who's watching, on the replay, even, what Tracy's bringing up too, the two documentaries that come to mind are Cowspiracy, that would be for the animal agriculture industry and the impact on human health, animal health, and the planet, and then Seaspiracy for the aquatic animals, and again, the impact of consuming aquatic animals. We call them seafood, on human health, animal health, and the planet. A lot of us don't even think of aquatic animals as animals, and I was like this too. I really did not perceive aquatic animals as even animals. I did not know that they had a nervous system, that they felt pain, that they recognized each other, that they had their own systems, that they build relationships. I had no idea about this before. And so I know that, it's unfair to expect the average person to understand, this reality. However, that's why you're doing what you're doing. I'm doing what I'm doing. Other people are doing what they're doing to bring awareness.
Absolutely. And, with regard to fish, they don't even talk about them in numbers of living beings. It's talked about in tonnage. How many tons of bycatch, how many tons of fish are being extracted from the ocean. Well, when you talk about it in tons, that's a very depersonalizing thing. And so how are people expected to view them as individual creatures? And I saw in a webinar recently on this topic, a woman whose work is specifically around fish. And she said, we should call them fishes instead of fish, because when you talk about like three fishes, they're little individual beings, and we need to just change our terminology, the way we think, talk, and as advocates, little things like that might help us to better represent the animals that we're fighting for.
That is powerful. And the same
Yeah.
with this, that is really powerful. And the same with seafood. We just, just bunch it all up into this like collective noun. It's like, no,
Yeah.
I mean, if people haven't seen My Octopus Teacher, for example,
Right.
I mean, that's a big example of the sentience, the intelligence of these aquatic animals, and
Yeah.
that is such a good point that it's almost like we depersonalize them.
Absolutely. And that's deliberate. I mean, the depersonalization of the creatures that we consume, that is deliberate on the part of the, animal agriculture industry, the fishing industry, the dairy, industry. They don't want you to think about it, because I do believe that most people are compassionate, and when they're confronted face to face with an animal, and you say, would you kill this animal? No, I wouldn't do that. But I want my steak. And that disconnect really suits the industry. And, as long as they have so much power and they have so much in government subsidies around the world, keeping them in such a strong position, that's not going to change. I mean, they advertise from the time you're a tiny little kid, that you should eat animals, and it's necessary to eat animals, and that's just a natural part of life. So we really need to look at system change. We cannot look at, these tiny little things. We need a wholesale system change. And it is incumbent upon us, as whether you call yourself an advocate, an activist, just a plain old vegan, whatever you are, you need to apply pressure where you can. It can be on your plate 3 times a day, at the grocery store, at a restaurant, when you choose, your hotels, when you choose all the things you do in your life, you're applying pressure. And then if you so choose to put your, activist hat on and go out and pick up a banner and march in a parade, or in a march, or, you go lobby your government officials, if that's something you feel is in your skill set, go do that. But it needs to be big, and we are a minority, so we need to be vocal, and we need to be strong and united, and just get out there.
I agree with you. I do want to say hi to everybody who's joining. Please put your questions or comments down below for Tracy, and she'll be happy to answer. Thanks so much for joining. And while we wait, Tracy, so I know you ended up at COP26, but tell us, I guess, what was your biggest motivator in attending? And I know you've alluded to it, but I just want to like give you that opportunity to really expand on, what really, was the clincher in getting you to want to attend.
Well, I think maybe in one of our other conversations, Angel, I've shared with you that I used to work at a global environmental conservation NGO. And we always had delegates at these COP meetings. And I would hear about the conversations they were having, and I would hear about next steps and how it impacted what we were doing. And it never included the demand side for animal products and animal agriculture, and the impact animal agriculture was having. That was never part of our conservation strategy. And that always, bugged me a little bit. And since I've left that job, I've done a lot more homework, and I've been a lot freer to sort of voice my opinion on that whole subject. And, with with things that have happened in my life personally and with the pandemic, I sort of redoubled my commitment, if you will, to activism, advocacy on behalf of the animals and veganism. And it's really kind of dumb luck that I found myself living in Scotland the
Yeah.
same year as COP was coming to Scotland. And I thought, well, I'll be darned if I'm not going to get on a train and go down there to that meeting because, A, like I told you, I like a good march. And I just thought it was such a tremendous opportunity, uh, both being at the meeting, but also, like I said, the connections you make when you go to these meetings and the energy you can take away from knowing that there are, maybe not billions, but millions of people who think the way you think and that you can join forces with and really make a difference. So there was no way I was not going. That was just not
Awesome.
going to happen. Rain, wind, snow, whatever happened, I was going. So, and there
Yeah.
was almost a strike, and I was going to try and figure out. I couldn't walk to Glasgow, but I was going to get there somehow. So,
Oh my God. But you know, I saw an Instagram post of people actually walking there.
yeah. And
Like
cycling, they got them on their bikes and went. And
yeah, like they were in a group, and I guess they were going to kind of meet up along the way or whatever. But yeah, it was very impressive. This was like
yeah,
a week. Like, I guess they had to start off early, obviously. So this was probably like a week and a half ago.
well, you know what else just kind of popped into my head. One other reason why I think it's important that we as vegans and animal advocates and advocates for the planet, why we are at these meetings, we have an opportunity not just to influence the people who are the decision makers and the world leaders, but of those 250,000 people, or
Yeah.
whatever the final number was, there was a very small subset of us that were the vegan or the plant-based solutions block, I think they called us.
Yeah.
We have an opportunity to also influence other climate activists who haven't necessarily made the connection yet to the eating animal products and the impact that has on the planet. They're halfway there because they're not climate deniers. They are not people who don't want the change, and they know we need system change, but they're looking more at fossil fuels and CO2 emissions and this idea of changing the food system and having a food revolution hasn't made its way through the whole, climate activism yet. So we also have an opportunity to educate our fellow activists. And that's also important because those numbers are a multiple of our numbers as vegans.
I am so glad you said that, Tracy, because just before I joined you here on Instagram, I was over in Clubhouse in a COP26 room. And I did not hear anyone speak about the animals. Now, I was only in there for a short while, and thankfully, there were other vegans and vegan activists in the speaker arena. And so, if they're still, having the conversation later, I will rejoin and listen in and contribute. I wanted to tell them I'm going to be speaking with Tracy, and she is right. I wanted to tell them, but I didn't want to like get up into the speaker arena because there were so many people up there already, and I couldn't like jump my turn just to say that, right? And so I was like, oh well, maybe I'll go back later and be able to share something. But you are so right. And I have also been a part of other conversations with environmentalists, and they are very resistant to the whole recognition of the animal portion of the problem. They minimize it, they diminish it. They say, well, that's fake data, the data is not reliable, etc. I think it's a human condition where we are so attached to the standard diet and lifestyle. It's just very difficult for many to give up. It's a part of our ego as well. I've learned where some people say, I don't want to give up my bacon, and I'm not giving up my, I know someone It's crazy pants. I know someone who said to me, well, I'm not giving up my fish. And I thought, oh boy, you know, and so, you know, it's like they're just not there yet. They're just not ready.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think in so many social welfare movements, we ask people to do things that don't necessarily inconvenience them. So if you think about, other kinds of, racism, movements against racism, um, movements against, LGBTQ plus, discrimination, all those things, people feel like they've done what they need to do if they, you know, put a little sticker on their social media pages or, retweet things and maybe they do a march and maybe they do really good things on behalf of those other movements. I don't mean to disparage any of them, but we don't ask people to change fundamentally something that they do 3 times a day. And I do sense that there's more pushback in that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So we have a harder job, I think, in many respects, to get that whole mindset, that whole system changed. And again, we're fighting against big numbers, big money, which
Yeah.
is in the system as it exists today. It's changing, and it's just phenomenal. All the things we can eat and things we can do and things we can wear and cars we can buy, don't leather anymore. And it's fantastic, but it's still, it's niche. We're still a niche segment.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. Supposedly, based on the data that I researched recently, we're only about 3% of the population, global population. The silver lining in this is that in the last, year and a half, 20 months or so, the people who are interested in the plant-based, shall we say, aspect of the vegan lifestyle has really increased,
mhm.
and people are more open to it. We have a comment here from one of our guests. I'm on my journey now, taking my time to make sure it sticks. Yes, that is, yeah, we got 2 thumbs up there from Tracy. Awesome. And
Whatever step you take in the right direction, bravo or brava. I couldn't see who made that comment. So.
brava, brava, brava. Yes, exactly. And yes, and I know that people are very concerned because we do have, some people who, shall we say, go back to the standard diet because, again, for some people, if they go too fast, they don't give themselves a time to, acclimate to this new diet and lifestyle, and they feel, pretty, I guess, pressured into it. They haven't really thought out a process of how they're going to, ditch the standard diet and switch to a, vegan diet. And same thing for, lifestyle, beauty products, skincare, clothing,
Right.
furnishings, where you, what you do during your vacations, on your weekends, things like that. Are you contributing to animals suffering or not, et cetera. So there's, there are layers to it for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
And not everyone is like an overnight, one hit wonder. Some people really want to go slow and steady. And so I just applaud everyone on their journey. We have a comment here. Awesome. Keep going. Absolutely. I agree.
Well, I think, and again, I'm going to just talk about my personal perspective, and you can take away from it what you will. But I have been on probably 100, 200, 500 diets in my life, and they never stuck. That you go on them to go off them. So if I became a vegan just for sort of a diet, if it was just about my health, which there are great health benefits, I don't think I would necessarily stay, because then there's always that thing about, do you cheat? Don't you cheat? Do you have cheat days? Do you, what does a vegan diet look like? For me, when it clicked and it has stuck, I was a vegetarian. I became a vegetarian 21 years ago and a vegan a little over 5 years ago. Whatever took me so long, I don't know.
Me
Um,
neither. I was
ah,
vegetarian, pescatarian for
what
20
the heck?
years.
I
I was
know.
living in a bubble. I had no
Me too.
idea.
Me too. But I think what keeps me going now is I do see a higher purpose in what I do. And where I live right now, I have cows right across the street, and they're cows that are not on a sanctuary. They're going to be rounded up one day and taken away. And I look at their faces and I make a little pledge every day that I'm going to do something to fight for them. And
And you
I hope
are.
hope
You are.
everybody can connect somehow with either environmental reasons or the animal suffering.
I agree.
In addition to their health, it just makes your conviction that much stronger. And so, and again, it is a journey. You and I both just said, my goodness, and we're people who are like animal people, and we're
I
so all
know.
about this. How did
I
it take us
know.
so long?
It's just a lack of awareness. It's
Yeah.
the efficacy and the power of the profit driven enterprises, advertising, commercials, propaganda. Oh, you need to eat animal content to, for your protein, for your
Right.
iron, for your healthy fats, et cetera, et cetera. So, I know I can speak for myself. I really was like living behind a veil. And when the veil
Mhm.
was lifted, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I really need to get with this now. I just, need to get with this because this is just ridiculous. We have a comment here. Part of my journey is coming into spaces that embrace the lifestyle. Absolutely. Please continue to join us. Yeah.
I do. I think community is such a big part of this. And there are so many things wrong with social media, so many things. However, I think for those of us that are swimming against the current, to use a little bit of an animal analogy,
Yeah.
when you're swimming against the current, it's very easy to feel alone. And I think some people feel bullied by the non-vegan community, made fun of for whatever. If you can connect with like-minded people online, I have found it tremendously helpful, and certainly during the pandemic, but even
Yeah.
now as we're coming out the other end, I love the connection. And it was why I loved being down in Glasgow, because there were people that, I not only was with them that day, but now I have these connections, and there are actionable items that came out of that day or two I spent with them that we're going to work on together. And it's so much easier when you're doing it together.
Well, thank you for that, Tracy, because you very expertly and very elegantly put us into our next topic, which is, so I'm just gonna combine all of this, and you can speak as you wish. So, what is now the role of vegans? What have you learned and observed, and your next steps?
So I would say, first of all, the great thing about being a vegan activist is, like I think I said earlier, you get to do it 3 times a day, because every time you eat, you have made a choice and you've made a statement. Every time you go to the grocery store, you've made a choice and a statement. If you buy, vegan food, whole food, plant-based, vegan, junk food, whichever kind of vegan you are right now, you're making a statement. You can walk away and do something as simple as sharing a meal with someone who is non-vegan. We can do that. That's on a micro level. We can cook for people. We can take them to vegan restaurants. We can do all of those things that are absolutely wonderfully fun for us and great for them. But I think also, if you can, find what are your strengths, what are your talents, what are the things you love to do. If you're a good letter writer, or, like I said, a lobbyist somehow, and you want to talk to your elected officials, sign petitions, donate to nonprofits that are really moving the needle. The the farm sanctuaries. I went on a 1,300-mile trek around the UK recently,
Oh my
and
gosh.
it was amazing. I went and I visited farm animal sanctuaries,
Oh my
and
gosh.
they do such amazing work in creating an environment where animals can be the ambassadors for, these are rescued animals. They're
I
ambassadors for
know.
all the animals that don't have the luxury of being rescued. So take someone to an animal sanctuary, hug a pig, scratch their belly, hug a cow, whatever it is. Because all of a sudden you start to humanize it's not humanize, sorry, that's the wrong word, but you create a bond, an
Yeah.
awareness of the sentience of other beings. I mean, there are just so many things that we can do. And, some are easy, some are more challenging, but, and also I think just connect because, for example, the Plant-Based Treaty was an organization that
Yeah.
I connected with at this like COP
Amazing.
meeting, and they're fantastic. Like they're doing such
Yeah.
a great job of
I
getting
agree.
people all over the world to endorse the Plant-Based Treaty, which is something that is a really, really well thought out, important framework for what a new food system and what we need to migrate to globally. And it's written in a way that I never could myself. Like I could never put a document like that together. It's brilliant. But I can hook up with them and say,
Yeah.
should I hand out stickers? Should I hand out cards? Can I get my friends and family to endorse the treaty?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Organizations like, the Rancher Advocacy Program that's trying to
Yeah.
help
Yeah.
farmers get
Yeah.
out of animal ag. Mercy for Animals Transformation Project. Here in the UK, we have an organization called Farmers for Stock-Free Farming. They're doing the same thing, working with farmers to get out. I mean, there are just so many wonderful people, and they're already doing it. We just need to connect with them and
And
get
support them.
involved. And they need the support, and they welcome the support, and they're wonderful. So, you know, it's my 2 cents. There's some, I probably didn't even list, a fraction of all the things you can do, but
No, but
it's
no, but
great.
this is awesome. Yeah, no, this is awesome, Tracy. And you talked about the animal sanctuaries, and they were key in my elevation of understanding and awareness of the sentience of, whom we call, non-human animals or farm animals or livestock and all of these horrible
Right.
names that we label them with. Just to see how they each have their own personalities, they have their own emotions, relationships. Some of them display fear and love and anxiety and tranquility, etc. So it's just really awesome. And many of these sanctuaries are offering virtual tours now because of
Hmm.
everything, the world being a bit upside down. You can have your wedding at a sanctuary, you can have an event at a sanctuary. There's some that are opening bed and breakfast or accommodations, all kinds of amazing events. And of course you can sponsor them and buy their merchandise, or just buy a bale of hay or something. Like, it's just support them on social media, like, share, comment, save, etc., etc. So definitely, and tag them, etc., etc. So there's just so much we can do. And
Absolutely.
I'm just so glad that you mentioned them. And I
Yeah,
I I, I saw that you shared on your the Unexpected Activist, some of the photos of your tour there. And I
it was
know,
awesome.
yeah, yeah, and I
It
and
was
I
so
know,
awesome.
it's bittersweet because they are the lucky ones, quote unquote, and some of them are still super damaged, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I think for me, it's again, every time you do something like that, you sort of recommit and you reconnect, and but also like for example, there's a place called Beneath the Wood Sanctuary in Wales, and there's this woman named Sasha Bennett, and when I met her in person, I mean, she's this petite little lady, and she takes care of over 100 pigs that she has rescued. And when you get up next to pigs who are allowed to live a normal lifespan, not killed as babies like we kill so many animals, they are huge. I mean,
They
they are these huge
are.
animals, especially
I
the
was
boars.
surprised. I was
I mean,
surprised.
they're big, and this little lady takes care of them every single day.
Yes.
And it's humbling and it's inspiring. And you go home and you think, gosh, if all I have to do is eat vegan 3 times a day, it's so easy because Sasha's feeding 91 pigs. Um, so yeah, I mean, go out there. And like you said, a lot of them are really nice now. They're very visitor friendly, and they are such great ambassadors for our cause.
I agree. I agree. I just want to say hi to everyone joining either live or on the replay. Please put your questions and comments down below for Tracy, and she'll be happy to answer. And while we wait there, let's go to so your next steps. You mentioned you're going to be collaborating with others. Could you give us like a sneak peek of one or two perhaps next steps that you all will be involved in, and also how can you know, you shared how vegans can really you know, help with the whole climate change issue, and of course the animal suffering, and I guess the non-vegans. So next steps, and then how can we rally up the non-vegans?
So I think next steps coming out of COP. I mean, I think that all of us that were there recognize that I've said this before, but what was happening in the meetings was not beginning to be sufficient. So I think every organization is going to come back. And what traditionally happened, I know when I worked for the NGO, is everybody kind of goes back from the meeting and says, okay, this is what happened, this is what didn't happen, and then you drop a game plan. I mean, the meeting's still happening, so it's not over until the end of the week. Everyone will do a debrief and then figure out the next steps. I know for organizations like the Plant-Based Treaty, I mean, they just built so much momentum. I think they're going to keep going, and I would definitely connect with them if you haven't already. Anybody who's listening, but they will just keep going with events. You know, there were events in 100 cities on Saturday, you know, around the world. So all of those people who came together are going to go back and continue to advocate. For me personally, I connected, like I said, with the Plant-Based Treaty, with the stock-free farming, the Farmers for Stock-Free Farming here in Scotland. I connected with the Vegan Outreach Scotland. So I'm going to now, you know, attend their events. They do tabling, they do all kinds of little events in different cities around Scotland, and continue to do that. I am knock on wood. I'm trying to write a book, which is part of my next steps. I'm not an author, but
tell us. You're a future author. Tell us.
I'm wanting to write a book, and we're still working on exactly what the format's going to be. But I want to share some experiences I have living my best life as a vegan, and make it really fun and hopefully enticing, so that it's something that vegans would want to read, but also non-vegans could look at as an example of how it is not a sacrifice at all. And so part of, you know, going to COP was also, I want to tell the story of COP in my book, and also these sanctuary visits and all the things that I'm doing. So those are some of my next steps coming out of this. I think in terms of how do we get to the non-vegans, you know, I think we just have to keep doing what we're doing. I think you did an interview recently with Melissa, Misread Vegan, who I just adore. She's just always so much fun.
She's
and one
adorable.
Of the things, isn't she? She's so much fun.
I love her. Yeah.
And one of the things she said that really resonated with me was, if we go out and we live our best lives and we show that we are just fulfilled, having fun, healthy, you know, just moving forward, that's one of the best things we can do. And then show people, you know, I personally, I've been very self-conscious for most of my life. I'm not one to be out front. All of my jobs in my career, I was always sort of back project manager, someone who was behind the scenes. And it wasn't until I became a vegan that I'm like, you know what? I am going to be the voice. I am putting myself out there. I am going to share. Even when I'm uncomfortable, I'm going to go out and I'm going to do that. And so I think we all need to do that. You know, it's for a higher purpose. It's for something that's so meaningful. You know, find a friend, go out and do crazy stuff, whatever you need to do, just go and spread the word. You know, and we live as examples. And I think that's one of the best strategies.
Yes, and before I ask you, is this how you stumbled into the unexpected activist? What you are saying, and I firmly believe this, and I say this to people. It's surprising to me how many people are watching us, observing us, and they're like, I want some of what she has because she has high vibrations, high vibes, high energy. I want some of that. What's she doing?
Absolutely. Look at you
What's she?
sparkling out there.
Well, this is a filter, but
I know. But you
but
sparkle anyway, Angel. You're sparkling.
thank you. And people are watching. They're like, I want to feel what she's feeling. I want to look how she's looking. I want to do. I want to have that energy, et cetera, et cetera. And so, when they see that you're thriving, like you said, you're living your best life, they're like, wow. Maybe I need to start doing more of what she's doing. So that's definitely, I think, an awesome form of activism, and just kind of, leading by example, so to speak. And so that takes us to, so is this what, basically threw you into the unexpected activist?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, one of the things that I find out, I'm 57, and there are a lot of people that I know that are kind of around my age or my stage in life. A lot of women I know who are at a place where they've raised their children, they've gone off, and a lot of people are looking for what to do with their lives. And I kind of did too when I left my full-time job and my life in Los Angeles and moved to Italy, and now I moved to Scotland. I had to figure out what I was going to do. And having this purpose for me is so powerful. I mean, it's so, so powerful. And no matter what happens in my day, on any given day, if I go to bed at night and I lived as a vegan for that day, I can say, you know what? I did something really good today. I did
Love
something really
that.
good. And that's why, I didn't intend to be an activist. At one point I lived in a house with a white picket fence. I had a Volvo wagon. I was like, suburban
Yes, yes,
life. And
yes.
but I don't know. I don't know. I think I'm possessed by the spirit of my grandmother, who was a feisty, wonderful, outspoken woman. And I think I'm becoming her. Unintentionally, I'm becoming her. Um, but it wasn't what I necessarily expected from my life, but it's the best darn thing that's ever happened to me. And I want to expand what I'm doing. I want to grow my voice. I want to be out there. I want to connect with people like you and everybody who's on here. And I want us to be a force to be reckoned with. And that's how I wanted to create this little unexpected activist brand, because I think a lot of people don't think they can be activists. Oh, I could never do that. I'm not flashy. Maybe I'm not grungy enough, or I'm not this, or I'm not
That's a new,
that, or at the
that's a
other
new
end.
one.
Yeah,
I never.
but
I
you know
love
what?
that.
It doesn't, what is an activist? It's someone who believes with passion about what they do, and they talk about it. They live it. And so I want to be a person who helps other people do this. And that in turn, it's helping me. It saves my life every single day.
That's
Helping to save
beautiful.
animals, it saves me every day. So, that's my story. And to the extent that it can be inspirational, I really hope it is. And,
Yeah.
you know, talk to me in a year, Angel. We'll
I hope
see.
I hope we can redo this. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You bring up such a good point, and I've come to this realization this year as well, in particular, particularly I think with the whole clubhouse kind of appearance on the scene. But we can be activists even if we're making smoothies all day. We're making smoothies, we're talking about smoothies, we're not using animal protein, we're not using any kind of animal content, no honey. We're showing people that we can make these beautifully yummy smoothies. That's just an example. Or you're making your your I don't know, mushroom dishes or whatever, you're baking some, you know, carrot cakes and things like that, you know, we're showing that it's possible, like you're saying, 3 times a day. Some people eat 6 times a day. You know, they have breakfast, lunch, and
Yeah,
dinner. They have a snack before
right.
lunch. They have a snack before dinner, and then they have a midnight snack or something, some kind of bedtime snack. You know, so it's definitely, like you're saying, it's doable, regardless of if we're choosing, you know, the kind of dietary food angle, or our beautiful animals, or a beautiful planet, you know, human health, etc. So there's definitely a role for all of us to play, and I just, you know, applaud you for all that you're doing. And you know, and I hope that I can continue to follow this journey that you're on, and just, you know, inspiring so many people. And I want to ask you if you would share with everybody, please. And hats off to you for your Twitter account. You're doing awesome over there on Twitter. I'm trying to keep up with
Okay,
you on
so
Twitter.
here's a little tip. I have to say, people who are in the vegan community on social media probably know John Oberg.
Yeah.
You know John Oberg?
Yeah.
I took his Twitter course through the
Yes,
advocacy collab.
I saw your post and I was so impressed.
He helped me a lot. That has helped me a lot, just to be a more effective tweeter on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I just took his Instagram course too. So let's see if I can do the same thing on Instagram. But
Yeah.
there are lots of resources. There are a lot of people who can help with your advocacy. If you're looking for someone to sort of be a little bit of a mentor, there's also an organization called the Animal Activism Mentorship Program. They have accounts on social media.
Yeah, I see them on Clubhouse.
Yep, they're great, and that's I don't know if you know Vegan Evan, the young man who's
Oh,
the
I
vegan.
discovered him through you. I just discovered him through
He's
you. He's adorable.
wonderful. He's wonderful. It's his mom who started that animal activism mentorship program. I
Oh,
met
I
them
didn't
at
know
COP,
that.
and they're fantastic. What a fantastic family.
Oh,
Uh,
AMA.
yeah, animal activism mentorship. So
Oh,
A.
AMM. Oh,
So
AAM. Yeah.
there
Okay.
are there are people out there. If you don't know where to start, there are people who can help. You know, for me also, I just look at social media and I say, "Oh, I love what she's doing. I love what he's doing. I'm going to try and do a little bit of that." And it has been starting to grow the momentum.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's not one size fits all. I
No.
think we all are different. We all have different comfort levels
Yeah.
with how we talk about our lives and how we talk about veganism.
Mhm.
But do what you can. Think about the impact we could have if everybody just did something, anything, something that works for you.
I agree. We do have a question here. John who? So tell me how to spell his last name,
Oh, sure.
please.
It's John Oberg, Oberg.
Awesome. I just posted it there. I'll actually, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, that's John.
Hopefully they can see that. John Oberg. There we go. And so what are the best places for people to contact you for information, collaboration, questions, comments, etc., please?
Well, here on Instagram is fine. The unexpected activist account is new, so it's not it's just starting to gain momentum. But I check my DMs all the time, and I always interact with anybody who sends a DM. Same with Twitter. I have a new Twitter account. I also have my personal account that's Tracy Klaber, but I'm trying to focus my activism efforts in these accounts so that I can respond to anybody that's interested in working, in the activist arena. So yeah, that's probably the best way.
Awesome. And my final question to you, Tracy, after I thank you for taking the time, thank everybody who came on either live or on the replay. I feel your energy. Tracy, do you have any final thoughts for us to just wrap this all up and put a bow on it for us, please? Thank you.
Boy, I just think that we're in a really, really exciting place right now because the world is waking up to the problems that we have. So before you can cure a problem or solve a problem, you have to recognize that there's a problem. So many people in the world right now get that there's a problem. They're living it, we're breathing it, we're seeing it. So because now people recognize it, they're halfway there. And I think we need to get them to the next place. We need to help, move the needle. We need to push. And we can do that, like you were saying, let people feel your energy, your positivity. There are times when we're all negative and, it's just part of what we do because it's a really sad thing that's happening right now. And what happens to animals is soul destroying some days. It's terrible. But I think if we can focus on moving the needle in a positive way, and one thing, I'll add this one little plug for not tearing other vegans down. I do see a lot of the vegan community being critical of other people in the vegan community for not being, the right kind of vegan or, whatever it is. We can't afford to do that. We can't. So being supportive, being energetic, bring your energy, bring your talents, bring your time. It is so worth it. It's just so worth it.
That was beautiful and so much needed, Tracy, because we're all in this together. We all have the same goals and objectives. And, it's like, united we stand. I mean, if we're divided, it's like a divide and conquer. We're going to fall. So, we need to remain united. And it's not because a person is making smoothies all day or baking cookies all day that they're not playing a huge role
right.
in what we label as activism and awareness and lifting the veil and showing people that we can thrive on beautifully yummy food and beautifully yummy furniture and beautifully awesome clothing, etc., skincare, etc., and entertainment without harming non-human animals and human animals and the planet. I mean,
right.
And so I'm really glad that you brought that up because I have noticed, shall we say, complaints about that, on social media. And it is heartbreaking, to be honest, because it's really, I think, hindering our progress sometimes.
I absolutely agree. I agree. And there are enough people from outside this community that are just waiting to tear us down if they can, so we don't need to do that for them. And it's okay. That's another thing. And I won't go on too long, but vegans come in all shapes and sizes and personalities, and it doesn't mean we're not all going to be best friends, and that's okay. But what we just need to do is just remember that there is one thing that we have in common, which is, overhauling this horrible food system that is hurting animals, destroying the planet, killing many people, and will kill more if we don't sort it out. So let's just focus on those commonalities and the things that we want to accomplish together. So
I agree. Thank you so much. And we have 2 great comments from our guests. Thank you, ladies. You're amazing, with a heart. Thank you for that beautiful comment. And another one, yeah, I've seen many vegans say if you're not vegan for the animals, you shouldn't be one at all. I've heard that. I've heard all the controversy over that. My point is, keep it moving. Let's all move in the same direction for our beautiful non-human animals, our human animals, and the planet. And, don't worry about the naysayers. Let them play their role. That's how I see it. Let them play their role. And, each person will play their own role, because I do think that regardless of how small one may, deem a person's role to be, I some people they're just not ready to hear about the animals and the planet. All they want to know is, how beautifully yummy is their dinner going to be? That's all they want to know. That's all they want to know. And are they going to miss, the flavor, texture, and odor or aroma of what they're used to eating on the standard diet? They're just trying to figure out how they can get from breakfast to lunch to dinner, from one day at a time, from one meal at a time. They're not ready for the animal suffering, which is very, very difficult. Once the veil is lifted, it's super difficult when that awareness hits us And even for those of us who have been aware for X amount of time, it's still very difficult.
Mhm.
You know, I see the footage and I just start crying. And I'm like, okay, Angel, take a break, move on to something else, because it's super heavy, you know? And you see the statistics of the environment, that's super heavy. It's like, oh la la, how are we gonna get out of this?
Right. And I think I was talking with some young people over the weekend in Glasgow, and this whole topic of climate anxiety came up, and
Wow.
that's actually taking a real toll on the mental health of young people. So I think it's incumbent upon us too to reach out to them and say, you know what, we got your back. We're doing what we can to make your future better. And they are so inspiring. I mean, I was the old lady in the group of people, mostly that I was hanging out with this weekend. They inspire me, but I also want them to see that, I do care. I really care, not just about the animals, but for their future. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a vegan for the animals person. I always have been,
Yeah,
unapologetically, but it
I
doesn't mean
agree.
I don't care about those other things.
Yeah, no, that climate anxiety topic is very huge. I think you've inspired me to create some clubhouse rooms on that.
Absolutely.
Seriously.
I
Yeah,
think it's
I will message you on that
okay.
because I think it's huge. And with this whole COP26 going on, the climate change conference over there in Glasgow, this is really top of mind. The hashtags on social media are blowing up, on these topics. And so, and I think it's super powerful that you had those conversations with youngsters to really feel their energy on this topic and to give your support, and to say, we're not going to leave you blowing in the wind like this.
Yeah. No, we just got to or convince the people inside the room of the same things. Those 120 world leaders that showed up for the conference, I'm going to hold them accountable
I
or get
agree.
rid of them and put some new people in place. That's
And
how I feel.
and I know it seems slow, slow progress on that front, but hopefully little by little we can, ramp up those numbers for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Tracy, I just want to thank you so very much for coming on
Oh,
and
thank
chatting.
you.
Awesome. I want to
Always
thank
fun.
Awesome. Yes. And I want to just say thank you to everyone who joined either live or on the replay. So Tracy, I am going to save this to IGTV, my stories and my feed, and then I'll message you after.
Okay, super. Well,
Awesome.
thank you,
Thank
Angel.
you.
It's always great to chat with you. And now it's face
Same.
to face, so it's been so much fun.
Awesome for me as well. So take good care, Tracy. Bye,
Okay, bye,
everybody.
everybody.
Take care. Bye
Bye.
bye.